All of this causes Stryker to activate the fruit of his labor, Weapon XI, or Weapon 11 if you'd rather say it, also known as Deadpool. Now Deadpool is basically a combination of several different mutants we've seen throughout this movie. That's why blood samples are being taken of killed mutants. He has, for instance, Cyclops' optic blasts, Wolverine's healing ability, Wraith's teleporting ability, and a bunch of other interesting things. And it's really not that interesting because he's so broken. He's supposed to be all these different mutants combined together, all strengths, no weaknesses, and it just doesn't work. First of all, why is this a surgically altered Wade Wilson? They put some emphasis on the fact that this is Wade Wilson after surgeries being done on him, after all these modifications are made on him. Why does that matter? I don't get it, because that wasn't originally part of the Deadpool character or the Weapon 11 character or whatever. Why is he Wade Wilson? Which brings me to another point I want to make. That this now means that Agent Zero is gone, having done very little. Frederick is gone, having done basically nothing except for the boxing match when he was 800 pounds, which was just supposed to be kind of funny. It wasn't, but okay. Bolt barely did anything, and he was gone a long time ago. All these mutants with potentially cool powers just died or left after only a couple minutes of actually doing anything. It was frustrating to me that Wolverine and Sabretooth were the only mutants who got significant screen time. Everyone else showed up, showed off their powers for a minute or two, and died. It got on my nerves because I think I would have liked to have seen these characters, to learn about these characters, or at least watch them fight, because at least it's fun to watch. And I got very few opportunities to do that. So that part of it was disappointing to me. And at least Wade Wilson was fun to look at, even though he was completely broken and ridiculous. And now he's just a mindless drone. His mouth has been sewn shut so he can't talk, which doesn't make any sense either for the character. He's completely controlled by Stryker, who commands him to do things via a computer, and he's not capable of actually controlling himself, so it's kind of lame. And he's just a completely lifeless robot, basically, who does what he's commanded. I don't get it. I know this is supposed to be Wolverine's story, but there were other mutants in this movie that could have been cool. So Weapon IXI gets in the way of their escape. The escaped mutants and Kayla go look for another route, which, in a weird cameo, Charles Xavier directs them through telepathy with Scott Summers telling them how to escape, and they get out and they meet Charles Xavier, and he offers them safety at his school, which leads into X-Men 1. Now, if you watch this movie, a lot of people complained about the effects on Wolverine's claws, saying that they looked fake, they didn't look right. I didn't really notice that, but I did notice this scene. People complained about how weird Xavier looked, and I have to agree with it. I don't know precisely what effect was used. I don't know exactly what they had to do to get this, but he does not look right. And for all the money they put into this movie, I don't understand why some of the effects were a little lackluster. And here I was just like, it doesn't look right. Anyway, Wolverine and Weapon 11 start fighting. They fight a whole bunch. They go up to one of the plant's cooling towers, fight on the top of that. I don't know why Wolverine decided he wanted to fight up there. I can't see any particular advantage, but whatever. It's a kind of a cool fight, I guess. We get to see this. Deadpool looks kind of like Baraka from Mortal Kombat. It's barely even Baraka, I feel like. So, barely even Deadpool. So, they fight a whole bunch, and it looks kind of cool, but it's also a little bit lame just because this Deadpool character is a robot, and it's not even like a Terminator thing, because I love the Terminator, but it's not even like that. So, Weapon 11's about to kill Wolverine. Sabretooth shows up and basically says, "Nobody kills you but me." Okay. But then they start fighting Weapon 11 together, but you know, in between all the different powers he has, optic blasts, teleportation, healing ability, there's really not too much they can do. So they try and team up and fight on him, and fight, you know how it goes. Eventually Wolverine manages to chop his head off, which doesn't really make much sense because I'm pretty sure Weapon 11 has adamantium enhanced bones as well, so how could you chop his head off? I guess they're saying that adamantium can cut through adamantium, and I guess I'll buy that. Anyway, his head goes flying off. It ends up destroying the cooling tower as it falls down the cooling tower. And basically Wolverine and Sabretooth say their goodbyes. Wolverine says it's not over between us, which makes no sense. The only reason he was mad at Sabretooth is because he thought he killed his girlfriend, and he didn't, and she wasn't even his girlfriend. Why do they still not like each other? I know they fought a couple times, but they only fought because he thought he killed his girlfriend. So where is this animosity coming from? Is it just animosity for the sake of it? I don't get it. Anyway, Sabretooth runs off. Wolverine nearly gets crushed, but Gambit comes in to save him. And in doing this, Gambit uses his cane to break up a gigantic piece of debris that was falling on him. I'm not exactly sure how that applies into his power, but okay. I guess I can maybe see using the kinetic energy of his cane to break up the debris, but it really felt like Gambit had a very nondescript power in this movie. Instead of being very specifically about manipulating kinetic energy, they kind of turned it into something else. Anyway, Silver Fox is mortally wounded, still alive at the moment, but it doesn't look good. Wolverine tries to carry her off, but Stryker shows up with a gigantic revolver and fires adamantium bullets at Wolverine. After firing 4 bullets into him, 2 hitting him in the body, 2 hitting him in the skull. This is supposed to induce amnesia in Wolverine. Come on. That's like something you would read in a bad fan fiction. This really put me off. What are the odds that you can fire a bullet at the exact right point to make his memory disappear? There are other ways they could have handled this. They could have had Wolverine go through some sort of mind-altering machine. It could have been a device. It could have been anything. But adamantium bullet-firing revolver, I don't get it. I just did not buy it. It really felt like something that a little kid would have thought of, trying to write himself out of a corner that he couldn't think of any other way to get out of. And there were other ways to get out of this. There was no need for this. Anyway, he's going to kill Silver Fox as well. Silver Fox uses her powers of persuasion to order Stryker to walk away and keep walking until his feet bleed. And then she dies from her injuries. Gambit returns to pick up Wolverine. Wolverine has lost his memory, doesn't know who Gambit is, doesn't know who he is or where he is, or anything, so he basically just says, I need to run off and take care of myself. I'm not going with you. And they go their own ways. Wolverine runs away, the ambulances and police arrive, and the movie is over. Again, this movie was fun to look at. But otherwise it had too many characters that just didn't do enough. It had too many weird things going on. The effects could have been better for all the money they put into it. Just in general, I think this movie had too much Wolverine, and Wolverine is not that interesting of a character. He is good. He can be a good lead role, but you need other characters with more interesting powers. His power is healing, which is a passive power, not an aggressive one, and the claws that come out of his fist, which gets boring after a while. I would have liked to have seen Agent Zero shoot up more bad guys. I would have liked to have seen, you know, Wraith use his teleportation power more to fight enemies, because he basically only does it for about 20 seconds when fighting Sabretooth right before he dies. And Sabretooth is not a terribly interesting mutant either. His power is fairly generic. I don't know. Well, I know why these characters were featured. I just didn't like it. So that's the movie. I didn't really like it. That's it.